Anderson High School was like in many cities, each major city or small towns, there was an all-black school. Anderson High School, L.C. Anderson High School, was Austin's all-black school. Anderson High School was closed in 1971 due to a federal court order to desegregate. Anderson High School's demise, to me, signaled the demise of the East Austin community. It kind of started it off. And when I say demise, for a while, there was no high school in Austin. You had to bus to go somewhere else. That took away from the continuity of the East Side. There are a lot of things that signify the existence that there was in Anderson. Like, for example, the football stadium is still there. The last building that was the old Anderson campus, the last Anderson campus, still stands. But everybody had to go to Anderson. It was the one thing that glued everyone together, youngsters growing up, glued the community together more than anything else, more than a church, more than the fact that we were, a solidified community. But the Anderson High School was that thing that glued the community together because it was a conduit, it funneled, and it introduced, introduced its seniors to the world. You go through Anderson, and whatever you turn out to be, you would have had to go through Anderson, and you go on your merry way. So the community was very saddened and angry, still angry, that the school was closed for the reasons. It made as much sense it made as little sense to close Austin High as it did to close Anderson. It should never have been closed for the reasons that it was. And I would dare say that the community probably would be a little different today had it still been operating, had it still been open. It had a presence in the East Austin community when I grew up that probably it was as big as any other high school in any other city. By that I mean every morning, as far as I can remember, I could hear the Anderson Band. Over the whole community, you can hear the Anderson Band 7 o'clock in the morning out there, especially during the fall for football season, rehearsing for halftime. During special occasions like parades, you would go downtown, they would march down to Congress in the familiar black and gold. You would see crowds backing up, on the edge, on the sides, on the curb to let the Anderson, make room for the band. So for me, I had a music background at the time, and I wanted to play in that band. So, and then of course there were other things about the football team, was notable, for wins and in his accomplishments. So in other words, Anderson to me was about theater. You wanted to be a part of that theater. It stood out, and I wanted to be a part of that. Not to mention that, I didn't have to want very much because that's the only place I could go to school, to high school, and I look forward to being there. Kealing was, of course, junior high was a prelude to that, and the opportunity to go to Anderson, other students perhaps might have had other outlooks, going to and getting out of high school was a stepping stone to life itself. But I wanted to go to Anderson High School because I wanted to be a part of that. The greatness, it was just something that you did. You talk about the community raising a child. Well, that was a part of the community. It and the church and, of course, your neighbors, the neighborhood. It was a part of that community. Everyone who grew up, even though you may not have known the people, they may have come from different East Austin neighborhoods, gone to different churches. Everyone eventually had to go to Anderson. Mr. Mosby, of course, was very excellent, at teaching crafts. Mr. Joyce, obviously, was a very good band director. Now, in terms of the teachers that I had that had nothing to do with being, with music or with craft skills, math and English. I do remember Mr. Raymond Timmons. I took algebra from Mr. Timmons, and he was a very, very, very good teacher. Now, all the teachers, they cared for the students, and they cared whether the students excelled or were successful. I won't say excelled, but, and they were disciplinarians too, and they had to be that, just like the teachers have to today. But there were some teachers that stood out in terms of really being excellent, in their areas. And one that comes to mind is Miss Lucille Frazier. Not only was but she was a teacher in which fear, she was a smallish lady, diminutive in size, but people were afraid of Miss Frazier, because, she would call you out when you didn't do her bidding. Mrs. Verna Arnold, all of the teachers, they knew, and they taught us very basic English skills in English and writing. Frida Young was our biology teacher, and Ms. Young taught, and we dissected the fetal pig. I still remember those days when we dissected the fetal pig, and we looked at onion skin tissue under the microscope. And I remember the terms for families and phylums, that you use to classify living things. So she was very interesting. We got basic. I guess the point I'm trying to make is we got very good basics. We did not have any that I can remember. Not a lot of teachers that were there. Didn't care that you succeeded. All of them cared that you succeeded. And the ones that had the potential that they could see, for scholastic, aptitude, they pushed. They did do that.